This is the Top Performance Strength Podcast, episode 4, with your host, Kip Steingart, where we discuss everything related to comprehensive player and personal development. We have 4 new guests on today's show, and we're going to start with the ambassador, Nate Barnes. Nate Barnes, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good.
Nate Barnes, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and where you are right now in college and your development process.
Do I have to start? Let's start with Tim.
I kind of just ruined the intro, but all right. So it looks like we're going to start with big time Timmy Slim Jim.
Yes, Tim Jean.
Or, yeah, Tim Jean.
Exactly.
Thanks for having me.
Tim, it's good to have you here. Tell everybody about yourself.
Well, I'm a complete degenerate.
We already knew
I've
that.
bounced from JUCO to JUCO. I'm at the College of Lake County in my
Absolute
sophomore
bandit.
year. And, I'm just trying to live to see another day of college baseball.
All right, tell us about your epic handshake and how you managed to beat Nathan Barnes, who can do farmer's walks with 280 pounds in each hand.
The fact of the matter is, it's all mentality. Just like everything is in sports and competition, and he's mentally weaker than me.
Wow.
He can't beat me.
Barnes, how do you feel about that, being called mentally weak?
It
by
just
Tim
hurts
Jean?
my hands.
He's mentally and physically weak. I don't care how much he farmers carries.
It just hurts my hands.
I've also scored multiple touchdowns on him in the weight room.
No, you have not.
Yes.
No, you
Yes,
haven't.
I've seen him
think
lower
I-
his
there's
shoulder
been-
into you.
There's been about one time.
Do you remember
Been
when we did
been
it?
about one time where I haven't gotten past you and through the end zone.
Do you remember we did it in front of the
That's
parents?
probably why you didn't start as a freshman at Butler this year.
Jeez.
Just
Wow.
It's my, it's my red shirt year.
There we go.
Sends an
Bingo.
email to the coach.
It's my red shirt year.
You still got 4 years ahead of you.
Yes.
All right. Barnes, would you like to go now?
Yes.
All right.
I'm
Tell us
Nathan-
about yourself.
I'm Nathan Barnes from North Barrington, Illinois. Small town or village. About 2 miles away from here. It's a beautiful place. What else do I need to say? Player development.
Tell everybody where you are right now. You're the
I'm
the lone football player at the table. Yeah, you're the only non-baseball player here.
I'm a
Your
football
career
player.
ended effectively after high school, right?
It did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a football player
Shitting on Barnes.
at Butler University.
Okay.
You
Pretty
can't beat me
decent.
in a handshake competition.
But I could if I tried.
Okay.
I haven't tried yet.
All right. Well,
We
we'll
tried
get
20
this thing
minutes
going
ago.
at the end of the
No, I didn't.
podcast.
I wasn't actually trying.
I feel an arm wrestling contest coming on. You
No.
guys are sitting right
That's such
across
an
from
easy
each other.
dub.
that,
That's
no,
such an
I'd
easy
probably
dub.
tear my labrum.
I also want to mention that you are currently defeated against me in food eating contest. Let's not forget about that.
By
Well,
one.
I'm ready for that rematch tomorrow.
So we got our annual dinner at Texas State Brazil tomorrow,
Yeah.
going on 3 years running.
Kip, you're gonna have to put the winner on Instagram.
I think I'm
You're gonna
probably
have to
gonna
announce a
win.
winner.
I'll
Could
just
you
put myself
imagine?
on Instagram right
Did
now.
you guys? How could you guys believe that this pig over here would out-eat anybody?
He beat me 2 years ago.
I've
I
been
think
training
I'm-
my whole life for this.
I
can
couldn't
eat a
chew,
disgusting amount of food.
My
Jacob
jaw
might
was
win
broken.
also.
Dog, I can eat.
Let's keep making our way around the table here. Tom Konzemius.
Hello, I'm Tom Konzemius. I go to Quincy University. I play baseball, and I'm a freshman.
Love that.
Keeping it simple.
That's
Keeping it
about it.
simple. He's a
Very
simple
good.
man.
He has a
Simple man.
beard now.
I do.
My co-host, Declan Peterson, Daddy
What's
Deck
up?
is in the house,
Yes,
eating a
I am.
salad. Always got some food
Chicken
in front of him.
salad
Yeah,
with-
chicken salad.
Highly caffeinated too before my upper body lift too.
Okay. How's your morning going so far?
Oh, it's been good. Had
Now that we're in the afternoon, how's your day going so
it's
far?
going pretty good. Got my passport renewed. Hit a little bit. Talked with a guy named Cody. Did some lessons around here. He's in the Orioles organization, and then
Should you pick his brain apart?
a little
Should learn
bit.
some things?
Yeah, he had some things to take care of, but I talked with him a little bit, and then I had a meeting with a local chiropractor, Dr. Wade Miller. Definitely should visit him at Hope Chiropractic and Post Strength.
What's the address?
2 minutes from here, somewhere. I have no idea.
Walk
Look it up.
across the street
Either
and find
Hope
him.
Chiropractic or Post Strength. It'll come up. But that's been good. And then facing Tom live
Yep.
after this podcast, get a lift in. It's gonna be it's been a very busy but productive day.
All right, Brandon House.
Yeah, that's me.
All right.
What's up?
I'm from Gurney, Illinois. Why is
From
he
Gurney.
snapping?
He's from
Oh,
Gurney also.
I'm just
what?
contributing. So I'll stop snapping. It's annoying.
Yeah, I'm kind of a.
Warren High School grad.
Yeah, I am. Right now I'm at CLC. I'm not playing baseball anymore. I decided not to play in college, and I'm focusing more on academics. I know, snooze fest.
All right. Focusing more on academics, but you're also going into the coaching world as well.
Yeah, coaching. So yeah.
Very good.
All right, very good. All right, moving on. All right, let's we're gonna get into a conversation about just the overall developmental process. Just kind of want to get a better understanding, or give the viewers a better understanding of when we all first began working together, and say like how I've helped you guys develop, and kind of like where you guys are right now on your journey.
Oh, I have a legendary story. First day I met Kip, I didn't really know much about the weight room. He had me sit and observe the weight room for 2 hours.
Very good.
Tim, why did you come work with me in the first place?
Cam worked with you in the first place because I had heard things about you at Slammers, which is another training facility that I was at. And I'd heard good things about you, and then obviously I heard about Ace as well. And I know you and Ace are, like a married couple. I heard a lot of good things about you, and I'd always worked out at Players Edge from 8th grade all the way through till the sad day it closed. And
Yeah, we're all in a better place right now. We're all in a better place. We could agree to that.
Yeah, and I texted one of the guys. I was like, I need somebody to work out with, like a trainer. Who could I go to? And they're like, Kip, he's at Players Edge. And I was like, all right. I went there, and it was probably the best decision of my life, for my physical development.
No doubt.
So you say you had a pretty good year your senior year, right?
I mean, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. All right.
I played
Put up
3
all
games.
state numbers.
I was all state.
What were the accolades?
Like my stats, or like my
We can go into
accolades.
stats. We can go into stats. We can go into accolades.
I was all area. I was all conference. I was all state. I didn't get conference player of the year. I think that went to Gowans, because he was nuts.
Yeah.
But
We know this.
yeah, I had never hit a home run. My only home run before my senior year was when I was 6, or not 6. I was like 9 maybe. I don't know.
You had quite a few your senior year.
And and then I worked out with you, and then I hit 6 home runs. So you're the reason I hit home runs.
Love
I
that.
taught you how to swing too, right?
Not
necessarily,
No
but-
credit from my standpoint. There.
You did teach me though how to not be a bitch in the weight room,
Yeah.
and actually start lifting and being
You
uncomfortable.
say that's our favorite quote on the whiteboard.
Yeah,
When in doubt,
don't be a bitch. Yeah, and I think you just helped me understand that if you want to get better at something, that you're gonna have to be uncomfortable in positions to better yourself, like in the weight room.
Right.
I could sit there and I could go squat 135 as many times as I want, and I'm not gonna get any better of it.
Right.
You're gonna have to do stuff that you might fail on.
Right.
And I think I learned that from you. Is just being uncomfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Which is
right.
kind of ironic, but at the same time, it's a really good lesson to know.
Right. There's nothing comfortable about living in your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You said failure has been a big part of it as well. Like failure is always a big lesson, right? Or it always teaches you a lot, or probably I'd say the most lessons, right? Well, so what are some of the biggest failures that you've learned throughout the course of your playing career, or at least at the college level?
I've
for
failed.
3 years now.
Yeah, I've failed plenty of times before. I've been cut from plenty of teams. And it's just I was cut my freshman year, played my sophomore year, started my junior year, started my senior year, until I obviously reached that all-state level. And I committed to Heartland my senior year and got hurt after my senior year. Didn't really do much. Went into the fall I played scared shitless.
Mm-hmm.
I was so tense playing all the time, and it wasn't a good environment for me to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like I was so outmatched and unprepared. And after that fall at Heartland, I was cut. Anyway, that sucked. That was the shittiest feeling I've ever felt in my entire life, because I went back to my apartment after, and I thought to myself, holy shit, it's over. That's it. I'll never play baseball again.
Right.
And I kind of sulked about it, for a couple days, and I think I just had to, there was a coming to myself and a self-reflection, hey, you could sit here and you could be upset with yourself, and you could, bitch and moan about how you're better than this guy and this guy. I was like, or you could use this failure to motivate you, and and just, think about the people who said you weren't good enough, and, one day prove them wrong, and you can look them in the face and say, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid to do is to use the failure. Oh, that's my phone. Turn that off. And is to use their failure as a motivation, because a lot of people like to deflect their failure. They like to take it out of their brain. And I think that your failure is it's such a key asset into like becoming better.
Right.
And so once I got the spot at CLC, I was like, you know what, like I want to be the best player I can here, so that one day I can look back and look at Heartland and say, this is what you missed out on.
Right.
And so, it's just, failure is definitely it's something you should never overlook. And, like, you can't be afraid to do it, because it's only going to make you better if you can learn from it.
Right.
Yeah, that's big time. I know, like, for me, I'm going into my junior season at Franciscan. My first year, I was kind of like the same way. Like, throughout high school, I played 98% of my games at shortstop, and first they put me at third base, and I was very uncomfortable, and I played like scared, and I was so tense. That's why it wasn't even like the throwing aspect, it was just fielding ball. Like, I couldn't field. Like, I was just so tense and uncomfortable. And then they put me over at second. It was a little bit better, but just not the same. And then going into my sophomore year was a lot of the same thing, but I tried to take what I learned from my freshman year and apply it. And I've had a lot of failure all throughout my college career so far, and it's not really up until this year, my junior year, where I'm actually going to have a starting position. So it's taken me almost 3 years after being a pretty good high school player in the area to just get a shot to play. But the only reason that I had that is because I used the failure that I had and learned how to, like you said, like just learn from it. And from there, I just have become a lot like smarter of a player, and I've been able to especially like in game, to take a step back, especially when you strike out or you have a couple strikeouts to make an error, and just like relax instead of getting all tense and just letting everything spiral out of control. Being able to take a step back, know where I came from, see where I was a year or two ago when I was a scared freshman or sophomore playing, and just realize, okay, like I'm a good player. I put in the work more than anybody that I know and work my butt off. I can take a step back, regroup, and just learn from your failure. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's so true. And if you don't, it's just gonna let you sink. And I can't tell you how many times there's been guys that have like a little bit of failure, and then that just like creates havoc just mentally. You know what I mean? And then they just give up and they just stop playing because they just can't handle it. And it's so tough, because I was almost at that point. I'm like, man, I just have so many things going wrong. I don't even know what to do. And that's another reason why I came to KIPP, because I was just trying to do everything on my own. And it's been crazy in my career. I was talking about it with my girlfriend yesterday. I'm like, every time I've hit a low spot in my career where I couldn't figure out what I needed to do, there's always been a person that has come into my life that I needed at the right moment. Whether that was KIPP, that was Ace, Dr. Miller, my girlfriend, a lot of people. I mean, I just am so blessed, honestly, that I've had so many great people throughout my career to help me get to the point where I need to be. So
I think once you learn how to fail the correct way, you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
I mean, if you fail, what do you have to lose? What if you fail and you get a chance again? What do you have to lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have my second chance at another school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna sit here and be conservative on the baseball field. I mean, just go play your game, go have fun. There's nothing to lose at this point for me. I have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think of it. I think that's how people should take it every single day, is just play like you have nothing to lose.
Yeah. I mean, failure is the greatest motivator, if you think about it. Nobody ever wants to fail twice. Like, there's the old saying, fool me once, shame on you, or whatever, fool me twice, shame on me. Like,
Right.
it's I know I'm going to drop all these cliche, sayings in here, but it's the greatest advice you can give to somebody when they're at their worst is just learn from it. Don't make the same mistake twice. Like, when I was in junior year of high school, and I was cut from the varsity team, and I had one of the best tryouts I ever had. I was in the best shape of my life, and I go into the office, and he tells me I wouldn't be able to hit at a varsity level. And I just was absolutely devastated, because, like, out of all the things, like, my hitting was the best part of my game, and to have that taken, like, away from me almost by the coach was just terrible.
You didn't let him take it away from you, though.
I mean, yeah, but like at the moment, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It was like terrible, like absolute low in my career. I didn't know like what to do in terms of college. I was absolutely freaking out. But then the next day, I was right back in with KIPP, with Ace, hitting every day. I'd hit at least a bucket of baseballs, at least, on my own. Did a bunch of work, like knowing my swing and everything, and then I went and played up in a little spring league in Wisconsin, and just kind of stepped back and got a bigger picture view, I guess,
Right.
and learned that the game isn't always about a certain, I don't even know what I'm saying with this. It's not like so serious as it is. I just learned to step back and enjoy the game, because at the end of the day, that's what it is it's a game. And
You gotta
even though
enjoy
it's, you have to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it and you can't find a balance between work and pleasure, it's not going to be fun. You're not going to succeed, and it's not going to be fun. So flash forward a year, senior year, after putting in all sorts of work, I go back, and in my opinion, I had a worse tryout, but it ended up paying off, and I made the team. Didn't start originally, but after like a handful of games, I think it was like 4 or 5 games, I was batting 4th the entire year, and was definitely one of our leaders on offense.
Right.
And even though it was tough for me, because having to play for that coach and remembering every single time I saw him that he told me I wouldn't be able to hit at a varsity level, it just kind of like,
What a feeling it is to shove it up his ass.
I did. And even then, like, even when I struggled, I hated to struggle in front of him, because like, I'm like, man, what if he's right? What if he's right? And I know it's a bad thing to say, but that's just how I felt. And I feel like if I had kind of grown more and learned to enjoy it more, I would have been much better. But looking back on it now, I realized, like, yeah, I made a big mistake in that aspect of it, where throughout the spring, even though I put up some pretty good numbers, I could have been much better.
I think a big part of that too is you put yourself in the right environment and you surround yourself by the right people who believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself, right? You find people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So, right, that element of confidence goes a long way.
Definitely. I think, like, going off that, I think a lot of it, if there's any coaches that will be listening to this, a lot of that's on, like, the coaching to establish that kind of environment. Like, sure, you need to be serious. And I'm, like, a very intense guy, and very locked in, like, all the time. But you can't have, like, certain players, like, playing scared. Because, like, I've played for numerous coaches that have played, like, I've played around that. And that's always when I've done my worst. But when I've had the ones that are very communicative, very honest, even if it's difficult to be, and just very forthcoming with information. I don't have to feel like I'm scared. Like my coach at Franciscan now, after I transferred, Concordia Chicago was great. I'm glad I went there. But my new coach in particular, Rick Carver, I can talk to him about anything. I can talk to him all the time, and I've never really, I don't want to say that I haven't felt that, but not the same type of connection. So, like, for me as a player, the best seasons that I've ever had is a coach that's very personable and is forthcoming and honest, and I can always come to him about literally anything, and it's the coaches that have made me play scared or uptight. Those are the ones that I've done the worst. I think we can all agree with that. I don't know. A lot of coaches think fear is a motivator, or they try to use that as a motivator, but I know, at least for me speaking, it just does not work that way. It just makes my game go down. I just want to get your guys' opinions and thoughts about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
no.
So we all agree.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Well, before going there, or before going forward, right, you touched on the topic of fear and how how a good coach or an effective leader isn't going to instill fear in you, right? But there's still the element of fear, right, that exists inside of you. Like, how have you been able to overcome your own personal fears?
Yeah.
How have you grown from that?
Yeah. I don't know. I think early on in high school, especially, I wasn't very fearful. But as things started to get more serious, and I started worrying more about college and not really staying in the present moment, especially when I was playing, that's when fears started to creep in. Like, oh shoot, what if I screw up? What if I make another error? But in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. It's hard for me to admit that, but it really isn't. For me, with my fears, it's really been either through prayer or meditation, kind of quieting my mind, getting away from all the distractions that I have all throughout the day, and helping me relax and just have a clear mindset of who I am as a person and a player. Because I talked about on one of the other podcasts how I got to the point, especially at the later part of last year where I was like, man, like I don't deserve like this like love or like respect from people. Like look at my exit velo, like look at my 60 time and stuff like that. And I was just basing myself off of whatever my stats were or whatever I was reverse lunging or deadlifting or whatever. And that's been like kind of like a fear. Like I'm not at the level that I want to be at based off the numbers or metrics. And that kind of leads to fear of like, man, I'm not good enough. But I just have to take a step back and realize, man, I put in so much freaking work. I try to connect with as many people as I possibly can and learn as much as I can. I'm putting forth my best effort, so all those fears can go away because there's nothing more that I can do. And when you get to that point, you have no reason to be fearful.
Right.
Yeah. I know I've never personally had a problem with a coach that has instilled fear. I've been able to, like, just kind of play within myself. But I know one of my good friends actually had a lot of trouble whenever a coach. So our coach was sick. So there were some games where he was there, and there were some games where he wasn't. In the games where he was there, and my friend was pitching, he would not pitch as well as he should have. And the coach was a big part of why he struggled a lot that year.
A lot of screaming, yelling.
Screaming, yelling, just uptight, micromanaging. It's hard to play into that.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I think there's a time and place for that, especially if it's like a whole team effort. But as a whole, I don't think that should be in your, like, I don't know, the mindset or the, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just the whole landscape of the team. Like, I don't think that should be like a core focus, like having fear, like a dictatorship. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a certain respect, and like the coach is the head of the ship, like he's the captain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you gotta let your players be free and easy going so that they can play their best and relaxed.
Right.
You know?
Right. Barnes, it's been probably a different transition for you, right? So like from playing high school football and being a 4-year varsity starter, right, to playing at the Division I level at Butler, right? How's the environment changed from the high school level to the college level for you?
Well, it was a lot different for me because I played 8-man football for my junior and senior year.
Yeah.
So there were 3 less people on the field, and then going back to 11-man football at the Division I level, the pace just picked up like very fast. Like you get out there and there are people that are like 340 pounds that are lined up
Right.
across from
Yeah.
you, 350 pounds.
Kind of an intimidating environment.
Yeah, people that are
right?
just completely outweighing me. And so it just picked up really, really fast. Like I had no time to get adjusted. Like I just had to remember what I could from playing 11-man football when I was a freshman and sophomore. Really just go from there.
Right. How have you adjusted to that?
Oh, now I think I'm. It's better now. Like I'm back to normal. Like it feels right to be playing again.
Okay.
Tim's handshakes suck.
Yeah.
I just like to.
We've got video. We could do this right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Doing
it.
it right now.
Alright, here we go.
Oh gosh.
We interrupt this.
Like these
Yeah, we gotta interrupt it.
Oh, we gotta get some video.
Yeah, we gotta get this.
We gotta
Oh
get some
my
video.
gosh, you guys are killing me.
My
We're
handshake.
going to interrupt this moment in the podcast.
My handshake's better than Tim's.
Alright.
I'm gonna break my hand.
Alright, let's see what happens.
Alright,
Ready?
Yep.
On you.
No, it's on you.
You squeeze.
No, you're the visitor.
Alright. Oh.
Dude, look how big his hand is. It's
Bigger
turning
than
purple.
you thought.
It's turning purple. I see it. I see it. It's turning purple.
Come on, Tim.
That is just a lot of power in a handshake right there.
Wow.
A lot of transfer power.
Sorry about it. Sorry about it.
Tim won. Oh,
I think that was a tie. It was probably a tie.
You gave up.
Yeah, it was a tie. That's a tie.
JUCO Bandit for the win.
That's a tie. He squoze my hand.
It's all those late night forum workouts that we do.
So let's get back to the podcast.
All right,
and
what's
the
next?
topic
Yeah.
of conversation here. So like, where are we right now in the developmental process, right? So baseball season is coming up, right? All you guys are back home on break until this Sunday. It looks like everybody's going back to school, right? And you're gonna hit the ground running with practice. So you guys got about 4 to 6 weeks at this point until your first game.
I got 8.
How are we doing right now with the developmental process? Where are we right now? What are the priorities? What is the main focus?
I think the main focus right now is to get ready for the season. I know as a
Yeah.
pitcher, I'm trying to get my arm in shape. So 2 bullpens a week. one bullpen and then one live. Today I'll throw live, and then on Tuesdays we'll do a bullpen. Work up to 75 pitches live on Saturdays, and then don't get injured.
That's always the name of the game.
How are you
There you
staying
go.
healthy?
Stay
Speaking
healthy.
speaking of not getting injured, how are we staying healthy?
Talk about your diet.
Tom, we don't want to ask you about your diet. We
Just
just
kale-
want to talk about
just
how
kale
you've been
and
able
tomatoes.
to prevent injury and you're not
Uh,
causing yourself any harm in the weight room and what you're doing from a recovery standpoint on a day-to-day basis.
In terms of the weight room, just make sure that you're still putting up big weight, but at the same time, this isn't really the time to push yourself beyond what you know you can do. So if you've hit your max in the fall or winter, you probably want to stay within that max until next fall or winter. And then in terms of recovery, just bands, plyo balls, stretch, sleep,
Yes.
Sleep.
get good food, don't fail your classes.
Very good. Stay eligible.
So you got a big bullpen today. Tell us about that.
Yeah,
You
so
do live
today we
live
get,
bullpen today. Who are you throwing against?
I'm throwing against Declan today.
Yes.
I'm throwing against Declan and Matt Flaherty.
No, you're not just throwing against Matt. You're gonna carve him up.
You better carve him up.
Matt,
This is the
Matt
problem.
Flaherty has
Three
been
pitches and put him on the bench.
He's been talking a lot of smack lately.
That's his
Sick.
game. That's his
He's
game.
he's not gonna look like a healthy human being.
Trying to hit a few singles. That's
We're getting
all.
video proof
Find
of
the
this.
barrel.
Yeah, we can put that on video. We can put it on the podcast.
I'm not recording now, so.
No. Main focus for the bullpen is throw strikes, throw hard, keep it in the zone.
Don't let them hit nukes.
Declan can hit a nuke. Matt, he's not touching the ball.
That's funny.
Declan, what's on the training agenda for today?
All right, so today we have an upper focus day, like I said a little bit earlier. As of now, I got 8 weeks as of today until my first game with Franciscan. So right now, a lot of it is converting strength into power. So my med ball and plyo work and sprint work has definitely increased. But over the past month or so, but now I'm gonna have to scale it back a little bit because of all the rotational work between hitting and throwing has increased. I'm up to hitting 5 to 6 days a week, throwing around 4 days a week, trying to play long toss 2 to 3 times a week. Really just stretch it out, build my arm strength up to where I want it to be. Listen to my arm, honestly. Baseball skill work is taking priority over lifting now, as I'm 2 months out. Excuse me. For me personally, like I said, trying to convert strength to power. But I am also going to really focus in on increasing my reverse lunge because that's one of the compound lifts that haven't progressed as much as I've wanted to this off season. So definitely going to try to hit that really hard. And then just trying to get as many live ABs as possible. We start up practice in a few weeks. I think on the 27th of January we start, and then about a month after, we got our first game.
So once we go into practice mode in the next couple of weeks here, how is your overall workload going to come down in the weight room?
Yeah, so
What's the main focus then as far as maintenance is concerned?
so for me, I still like to push it like once a month, max out or go for a heavy single. But yeah, obviously maintaining your strength is the name of the game. So right now I'm at around 5 days a week with 1 or 2 days of intense like mobility work. I'm going to start scaling back, I think, to about 4 days a week for the next couple of weeks. And then once we get into February, mid-February, we'll do 2 to 3 days full body going into the season. And then just a lot of plug and play. I just have to figure a lot of things out. I have 40 games in 7.5 weeks. So that's a pretty hefty load. So I got to find the right balance between maintaining my strength and hopefully progressing on my compound lifts in particular, but at the same time staying fresh for the game and staying quick as a middle infielder.
Right.
Yeah.
Timmy, let's talk about how's your off season been. This is it's been a couple years since we've been together, and you're working with my good strength coach buddy Ben Wellenbach and Jason Reno out in Libertyville. Talk about how the off season's been working with those guys.
Well, I mean, those guys are the best. Well, second best behind you, you know that.
Thank you.
I mean, but they're awesome. What an environment it is over there at Be Well Fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so. I mean, I've worked with Be Well too in high school, through the high school, and
Made my job easier working with you.
he's just he's so welcoming and he's so relatable for You know, I mean, he's dealing with a bunch of college kids, and even Jason is the funniest guy, one of the funniest guys I've ever met. So and the workouts are tough. The workouts will kick your ass, but the workouts will kick your ass. But it's nice going in there and not hating going in there. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, like I have to go see this guy. Like he's a complete dick to me. Like it's good that it's good that I felt like I've developed a pretty healthy relationship with both of them.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the guys like them too. So like overall, like the whole team just goes in there and we get excited to do it.
Right.
So that's been really nice. One thing neither of you guys mentioned about off season is kind of like the whole mental side of the game, because they talk about, you've always heard like baseball's so much more mental than it is physical. And I believe that, because I mean, how many times have you taken a ground ball? How many times have you hit a fastball? You know you can do that. But I think that the biggest part of this off season for me has been finding that mental state that I want to be in when the spring comes.
Yep.
Like setting goals for myself that I want to achieve. And I guess like you can write down goals for yourself and you can be like, oh, that sounds ridiculous, but I want this. Like, if it sounds ridiculous to you, what are you going to do to change it so your goals aren't as ridiculous? I set ridiculous goals for myself.
Yeah.
I set them at the beginning of the fall. But now I was thinking to myself, okay, they seem ridiculous, but if I do this, this, and this in the off season, come spring, it's not going to be that ridiculous. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on, is just trying to make my goals more obtainable. And I think that's, the mental side of the game, and like telling yourself that your goals are obtainable is pretty important.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, we talk about goals a lot, and we talk about like you could set realistic expectations for yourself, but at the same time you could also set unrealistic expectations for yourself, right? Talking about the bigger picture, right? Like as far as like where you want to go from where you are now to where you want to be eventually, maybe this upcoming season or like further in the future, right? So like where do you want to be like come the start of the college season this year?
I want to do everything that it takes to win for my team.
Yeah.
So whether that be you stick me in the 9-hole and I'm gonna have to bunt twice a game, or sacrifice the ball twice a game, I'll do that. If you want to put me in the 3-hole and have me drive in runs all game, I want to be there. I want to do that. I'm defensively, I've never been special, and this year it's something that I want to change. Is if I'm gonna wear a ball off the chest, you just wear the ball off the chest. It's kind of like just like little things that like if you are willing to win, it's going to help you as a player, because people are going to recognize that whether or not you put up numbers. If you're a guy that goes out there and plays 100% all the time, I mean, that's going to help your team win. And kind of lost my train of thought right there.
Well, talk more about like the environment and like how you as well as the other players on the team have been able to push each other and create more of a competitive environment, right? Because when you surround yourself by competitors who want to be better, right, you create expectations for yourself, but everybody pushes each other to exceed those expectations.
Yeah, so we have a pretty heavy sophomore lineup, and I think the sophomores have been trying to do it and set an example for the freshmen, like, hey, we've been here, we've done this, we've failed, we know what it's like. You guys need to follow us if we want to be successful. And I think it's just been everybody is just kind of, if you screw up, somebody's going to get on your case. And it's not in a mean way. It's not going to make you like feel bad about yourself, but it's like, hey, you can't do that.
Right.
Which I think is how you should handle some of the conflict that like we see.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's being held accountable, and I think that's what a lot of us sophomores do to help the freshmen out.
Right. We all need to be honest with each other, right, and transparent with one another, because we all care about each other, right, and each other's success. It's just not about the individual player; it's about the team, right?
Even if it's difficult, you got to be honest with guys. I mean, especially with like the whole team atmosphere. Like you have one guy that can just ruin the whole vibe of the whole of the team, and I've seen it happen before. And with guys like that, you just got to be honest. Like, hey, man, like you don't have to do it in front of the team or embarrass them. I would say never do that, especially if you're a coach. Don't do that. Like that is just. That's such a turn off, honestly. That just makes I would lose respect for you if you do that as a coach. But but like saying to them, hey man, like what you're doing right now, I just don't think that it's the right thing to be doing, or you're not putting in the work, and you got to be okay with calling people out. Because I would hope that people would. I mean, I hope they don't ever have to do that. But if I was, I hope that they would. You know, that's just being a good teammate.
Yeah, you also have to know though your position when you're holding somebody accountable. If you're a guy that's missed, this is just for everybody.
Yeah.
Like if you're a guy that's missed workouts and skipped class and was late to practice, and then one guy messes up, and you go, "Hey, dude, you can't do that."
Right.
That's gonna make somebody go,
Yeah.
"Who the hell are you?" Like
Right.
you're the guy that skips workouts too. Just because I missed one doesn't mean you get to call me out on it when you're not the one doing
Right.
it.
Nobody's going to
So-
respect you for
Yeah.
being a hypocrite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You need to be in a position where you can hold people accountable,
Right.
and I think that's definitely something that comes with being older,
Right.
is because they've done it before.
Right. Right.
And I
Earning
think
respect
sometimes-
and earning trust.
Yeah, that can be a hard thing for some people, is like understanding, because a lot of kids go and play college baseball, and in high school they were the top dog.
Mhm.
They were big fish, small pond, and then you get to college baseball and you're small fish, big pond.
Right.
And I think that's difficult for a lot of guys to understand.
Right.
And when you try to hold somebody accountable who thinks they're a big fish in a small pond, that's when turmoil starts to kind of
Right.
get created between like the team. But like I think knowing your role in a team is definitely important for
Right.
like chemistry and just all the stuff like that.
Very true.
Right. Yeah. So kind of for me personally, it comes back to the one team, one mind mentality, right? So if you have guys, say for example, that lack that level of humility, right, and they're willing to do what's in the best interest of the team, then you've got to be able to show them like, hey, listen, this is like what you need to get better at.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well said.
Just being able to put your head down as a freshman and get your work done, get out, don't cause any trouble. It's kind of a big.
Your leash gets
Oh.
longer as you get older in college
Yeah.
baseball.
Right. Right.
Your freshman starts here, only gets bigger.
Right. So, like, what advice would you give to incoming freshmen if they come in cocky and they think they're the shit and they think they're above everybody else there?
At the junior college level, if you come in like that, you will go absolutely nowhere. Because every single person on that team at the junior college level is fighting. Everybody at the junior college team will tell you, everybody's got the same basics of the story. They were overlooked, or they didn't have the grades. And a lot of them are overlooked and didn't have the grades. And so if you come in and you think, oh, I'm going to dominate this, it's just JUCO baseball, I'll dominate it and go D1. Like that mentality will never work. Telling yourself I am going to dominate is completely different than telling everybody else that you're going to dominate.
Right.
So I would just say, like, to people coming into college baseball, especially at the junior college level, is stay to yourself when you have thoughts about, like, oh, I'm so good, because it can change like that.
Right.
As a freshman at a 4-year college, if you come in as a cocky little shit, the seniors are gonna shut you up.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna, cause you're playing grown men. You're playing 22-year-olds as a 22-year-olds as an 18-year-old. Like, I know, I came in, I was like, oh, this doesn't look so bad. First outing, double, home run, double. It was not fun. It was a good learning experience, because you can't, in high school, if you're a senior, throw pretty hard, upper 80s, you could leave a fastball down the middle. Cannot do that in college.
Nope.
No matter where you are, because someone's
Absolutely.
going to take that 500 feet.
Yeah, I would say for freshmen, kind of going off what you two have said, just put in the work. I mean, it's honestly that simple. Like, you need to remember where you came from and have that self-confidence, obviously. Another thing, though, is just guys don't care what you did in high school. Like, they really don't. They care about what you do now. So you can look back at high school and be like, wow, man, I was so good. That's fine to think to yourself. But you got to go out and prove yourself. You got to show it, you know what I mean? And that starts with just being a good teammate, being a good dude, and ultimately, like we've all said, just put in the work. And one last piece of advice I would say is don't be afraid to talk to the upperclassmen, especially the ones you get along with, and try to learn lessons from them, and the ones that are the best. Because some of my best friends at my old school, Jose Mercado, he just signed with the Gary Rail Cats. I wish I would have started picking his brain earlier. You know, he was like a junior when I was a freshman. He was from Columbia. There was a little bit of a language barrier. And on top of that, I was just like kind of like, oh, I don't know, like if I should be doing this. But then my sophomore year came around, and him and Brian Van Duzer, who was our third baseman, he was first team All-American his sophomore year. I really picked their brains. There were two infielders that I really looked up to. And once I started talking with them, I'm like, oh, wow, this makes sense. Why they think this way. Like, this guy's had success at this level, and this is where I want to be. So they probably know a thing or two. So I would just like sit down with them, like, hey, what are you thinking in this count? What's your approach? What are you doing? Like, what tendencies are you in? Stuff like that. And if you can just learn from the guys that are in the spot that you want to be, man, like, you'd be surprised how, like, forthcoming guys would be with information, even if you play the same position as them.
Yeah. There's definitely a difference between cocky and confident.
Oh, yeah. I said that before. It's so true.
If you're confident, you'll be able to go up and talk to those upperclassmen without causing any trouble, being able to ask questions and learn from them. But if you're cocky, you go up, you act like a dick. They're never gonna talk to you
They're
again.
not gonna like you.
No,
They're not gonna like
they just
you.
won't. They
They're
won't.
not gonna. They're not gonna like you. They're not gonna want to hang out with you outside of baseball. You kind of turn into a loner, which is never fun.
And they're definitely talking about you.
Yeah.
If you're cocky, the older guys are talking about you.
Yeah.
Whether
Like,
you want to
dude,
believe it
this
or
guy's
not, they're
pretty
talking about you.
That's true.
How have you guys been able to make them feel like welcome and comfortable with you guys, where they can come to you and they feel like they can ask you for help or ask you for advice?
Are you talking about like freshmen talking to me as a junior?
I'm talking to you as a junior, as an upperclassman, how you've been able to do that with some of the freshmen or some of the incoming players.
Yeah, so
how
for-
you've welcomed them to your program.
Yeah, so I'm a transfer from, like I said, I was at Concordia, Chicago for 2 years, and now I'm at Franciscan University in Southeast Ohio. So I've kind of been through it, and I've kind of just been honest with the guys. Like, hey, like, I went to, like, the top dog D3 school, and I barely even played. Like, I was one of the worst players there. But through, like, I didn't want anybody to have, like, an ego, like, oh, this guy came from such a great school and stuff like that. Like, we also have a couple Division II transfer guys, Ryan Neely and Chris Furka. Give those guys a shout out. And we're like, dude, like, we all struggled, or we had, like, our scholarship cut, or we got injured. Like, we're just dudes that want to play baseball and are here for the team. Like, if you have questions, like, come and ask us. Like, we love that kind of stuff. Like, for me personally speaking, like, I love, like, the training side along with baseball and how it can help with performance on the field. So I've been leading, like, the workout programs for most of the team. Like, I always tell guys, like, you can come out and reach to me. Like, I'm not going to haze anyone or do it, like, and just making that known that you're not going to be a jackwagon.
Put it on record, he didn't haze anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
As far as
yeah, I mean, and that's how I guess I learned a decent amount from the guys at Concordia, Chicago, because especially when I first came in, I didn't really feel like I fit in and whatnot, but, like, none of the guys, like, hazed me or did anything to, like, I don't know, you always hear these stories about, like, people picking on freshmen, but, like, even there, like, none of the guys did that, and we were, like, the top dog for D3, and I'm like, man, so I kind of just have learned from, like, the older guys at my previous school how to treat, like, the younger guys coming in, because there can be an intimidation factor. Some guys, yes, a few guys will come in and will be super cocky and think that they're the best player on the planet, and then you'll have certain guys like myself that were kind of, like, scared and, like, unsure about what this whole process was going to be like. So I think just being open with, like, the younger players and just being yourself, dude. I mean, just being a good guy. It's really not that difficult.
I think a big part of that is vision as well, right? Like what the vision is for the team and what you accomplish it as a team.
Yeah.
And how you're able to communicate that effectively to the incoming players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the easiest things you can do as an upperclassman is coming to a freshman is just ask them to play catch. Shout out Riley Martin. Came up to me first day, asked me what my name was, asked me to play catch. He's the ace for Quincy right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool, and he's just one of the nicest dudes ever.
Yeah, that's dope. I remember there's another guy. I remember I was hidden by myself, like, in the cage. It was like a cold fall day, and our star right fielder, Joe Silva, he's now, I believe he's an assistant coach at Benedictine. Awesome dude, like, All-American numbers, like, Conference Player of the Year twice. He's like, hey, man, I got some extra time. I'm going to throw you BP. And, like, here's, like, the best player on our team. And he's asking me, a freshman that hasn't done anything, like, if he could do some extra work with me. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, you know. And I just appreciated that so much. So, kind of, yeah, like I talked about a little bit before, just learning from the guys that have really made a big impact on your career and make you feel more at home at college. And just doing what they did.
Barnes, you want to add to that?
No,
No?
Not really.
I mean, I got something. I mean, that's kind of just team chemistry in general. Is how well a team kind of can bounce things off of each other and really relate to each other is really key to not only sports but anything you do in life. You want to be around people that will call you out on things that need to be called out on and things that you can get along with. You have to find that. For example, our high school team, our Warren team last year, we had me at the time was a Division III commit, and then Brad Vondruska, who was a JUCO commit, and that's all we had. In preseason rankings, our coaches showed us we weren't supposed to do anything. We ended up setting a school record for the amount of wins. We went like 32-5. We won conference. We did all this stuff because we worked incredibly well as a unit, and we all got along together. And our practices were always, there was never a dull moment at practices, whether it was just warming up, we were always just having fun and working well together as a team. And it's, like I said, it's just such a key thing to find in life.
Definitely, yeah. And it, like, being able, especially being an older guy now, to try to set the vision or the example that we want for guys that are coming in that will be recruiting over the next couple of years. I think one of the biggest things that helped me is also just taking a step back and realizing like why I play baseball and why I love it. And from that, I just get so much enjoyment and excitement and energy that I can bring to like my team. And like that fires everybody else up. Like it's contagious to have that type of energy. It's so vital and necessary to have that with not just one but multiple guys on the team. Yeah.
No.
I played 3 baseball games my senior year.
Why is that?
I don't think you guys
Barnes
that's
didn't
all we
forget
did.
how
That's
to
all we
count.
played.
Fill a
We only
team.
played 3 games.
They teach them how to count over there at LFA.
Half the guys didn't have gloves.
Oh God, man.
Sounds like a train wreck.
So like we talk about like commitment a lot, right? And like having long-term goals as well as having like short-term goals and like addressing like say weaknesses. Like, so what are like some of the weaknesses that you guys have had to address in the short term, right? So you've had to sacrifice some things in the long term. What have you done as far as like going about the process to address those weaknesses to bring up your game and become more of a complete player?
I would say just get in the weight room, connect with people like yourself, Kip, and other strength coaches or people, and try to connect and learn, because like anybody can work hard, but when you work hard and smart, like that's bingo, like that's the combination for success. So for me, throughout college, I've really started to connect with a lot more people, either through social media or just like word of mouth, and talking with more individuals and just bouncing ideas. And from that, I can learn a lot of things from podcasts kind of like this.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest ones I listen to is the Robbie Rose Show. I want to give Robbie Rowland a shout out. Great dude. He's worked with Josh Heenan, and I follow his 90-mile-an-hour formula, and Kip
Yes,
helps
sir.
me to reach those metrics. Barnes always.
You liked my comment.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Shout out to Doc Heenan as well.
If you ever followed me, I'd lose it.
Josh, we wish that you would follow all of us. But yeah, so get in the weight room and then just connecting with people in order to address my weaknesses. And I've had to realize throughout college that I can't solve everything on my own. Like I like to, I'm a very like individualistic person, but I need help from a lot of different people. And that's what I've had to realize, especially this off season.
I know
Yeah,
this fall kind of exposed a lot of my weaknesses that weren't exposed in high school,
In high school.
as a senior. Because as a senior, if you throw 80, you'll be able to blow up by some guys. You throw 80 in college, not a chance. Especially if you only have a fastball and your changeup needs work and your curveball isn't as good as you thought it was. So a lot of stuff to work on, but it's good to get exposed because now you know what to work on and you have coaches that surround you that know how to get it done.
Yeah, and I think part of that just being honest with yourself. Like that's been a theme that we've talked about. Being honest with others and then yourself, like what you need to work on. Like if you're honest with yourself, it's pretty evident what you need to work on. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, like being a student of the game, right?
Yeah.
And taking pride in being a master of your craft, right? You've taken it into your own hands and you're investing in yourself, right? So you want to seek out the best of the best to become the best.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to, especially if you see yourself wanting to play like professionally or be a top level college athlete. Like you are your own best. Like you're an investment essentially.
Right.
So you got to take care of yourself in every facet of life. You know what I mean?
The environment that you're in plays a big factor in
Yeah.
how you can get better. I know that was a big impact on why I went to Quincy as opposed to Cornell College over at Iowa. I think Cornell College is a great school. I love their coach. I just thought that Quincy would be a better fit. It's a little more of a competitive feel. I think that decision's paid off.
Love that.
What's made the biggest difference for some of you guys as far as like what's helped you the most in your development?
You.
Oh, thanks, Tim.
Kip and sleep.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely working out with you.
Yeah.
Pushed myself to whole new limits and everything.
Okay.
And we shared a few laughs along the way.
We did.
It was always good to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's always fun.
It was always good to procrastinate on my homework and
Oh,
hang
you
out with
stop
you my
by.
senior year.
Yeah, I think working with you just not only like because I always push myself, but just push myself in the right avenues and knowing when to pull back. Like we talked about volume management, so that's been really difficult for me throughout my career, and led to a few of my injuries in high school, especially. Yeah, I'd say definitely work with you, and then sleep has been a big key. Like once I started sleeping more, especially my freshman year of college, like that was a huge game changer. And then just having like faith in myself, and then in the process, honestly.
Can I share
Our
one of my
engineer.
favorite Kip stories of all time?
Let's go for it.
Appropriate.
It's appropriate.
People want to hear this.
Oh, the people are gonna love
Yeah,
these.
say-
And you guys are all gonna laugh because
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
remember it.
Go ahead.
Which one?
Yeah,
So-
there's quite a few.
So at Players Edge, the big thing in there was chalk. I remember Eddie used to get pissed at us
Oh,
because
yeah,
we put the
yeah,
chalk
yeah.
on people's back.
Oh, no, I
and the
know
walls,
where this is going.
yeah,
It's all got out of hand.
and if you
Just
and
got out of
yes,
hand.
yeah. And if you were wearing a black shirt, I would always come up with the big chalk print, and I'd just slap you right on the back, and
Give
I'd
you
be
a
like,
nice-
"Hey, good
nice
work."
print. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd just do it as a joke, and it became a problem at one point.
Enter.
And I remember sitting there, and Tino goes and scoops a huge thing of chalk. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Dude, watch this." He goes, Ace, get a video of this. And Ace is like, what are you doing? He's like, "I'm gonna slap Kip with this." And I'm sitting, we're both sitting there thinking like, oh, he's just gonna take this huge thing of chalk and like smack you on the back and like, oh, you'll have chalk all over you. How funny.
No,
Everybody turns around. No, he takes a handful of this, then walks up behind you. You were like helping somebody with something, and then it was just boom, right to the side of the head, and you
Classic.
dropped, and everybody was like, "What did he just do?" And Ace took the video, and as soon as you got hit, he's like, "Ah!" and like put his phone away. But we're all sitting there.
eye
Oh my
flushed
God.
out.
Dropped
Yeah.
for a second because I had no idea what hit me. I got right back up and got right back to it.
God,
And
Yeah,
then
of course you did.
Papa Steingart had to come pick you up and take you to get your eye flushed.
You know, couldn't see out of my right eye for a good 3 hours. So
Yeah, I know.
that's kind of a problem.
Tino came up, smacked you in the face. Like, oh, no.
I don't even know that he felt bad.
The chalk
He
stays in
was
the
just
bucket now.
he was just
Yeah.
laughing.
And then you just.
So I forgave him.
Oh,
Tino.
man.
That should have been the last. That should have been the last slap he ever threw. You should have got up and just bench pressed him into the ceiling.
He couldn't see.
Tom, what are your expectations going into this into your first freshman season?
Going into my first freshman season, the expectation is to get as many varsity innings as possible. So down at Quincy, we have a JV team and a varsity team. Varsity team has been consistently very good the past 5-6 years. I practiced with the varsity team in the fall, so hopefully I can get a couple innings. But just get as many innings as possible wherever I can. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, for sure.
Bonds, you okay to answer this question?
Yeah.
Like, after redshirting your freshman year, you still have 4 years of development ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I just want to go out in the spring and try and earn a starting job or a rotation job, like a second string type of job. And I think it's out there for me to grab. I just have to want to go and get it, really.
I already talked about mine on a previous podcast, but yeah, I'd love to win a Gold Glove this year, personally. And then for the team, I would love for us to like win the conference tournament. That'd be a really great start for us as a reestablished baseball program at Franciscan. We haven't had a team for almost 10 years. So to be back in D3 baseball, I'd love for us to win the conference tournament and just do whatever I need to for my guys in order to help with recruitment and improving the whole culture at Franciscan in the future.
For me, it's just I want to see this team go far. Got like 8 returning guys.
P-Dog.
So, yeah.
Dog.
Shout out to P-Dog.
Shout out Pasquale De Filippis. He's my boy.
He was the first person I
Man's an
met
animal.
when I came to.
Just
But
dominates every time he goes out and throws.
He said, "Hi, I'm
except for the one,
P-Dog."
except for the one time I took a yard, P-Dog.
Oh,
He was
wow.
just doing
That's-
those.
oh, wow.
He was just doing some breathing exercises.
But yeah, I think the goal for this team is a World Series, which obviously means Region 4 winners, conference winners. We just want to win. So, and for me personally, I've got my own personal goals. None of it matters. None of the personal goals matter if the team goals don't come first. Best piece of advice I could give anybody is just work hard, keep your head down, and play your game.
Yeah, especially as a freshman. Come in, get your work done, don't cause trouble, make new friends, get good grades.
There we go. Yeah, stay eligible. I would say take criticism with a grain of salt and know who you are as a player. So just because your coach is saying, yes, coach, but sometimes it takes a little bit for that to sink in. So don't let a coach totally change your game, especially if you're not comfortable with it. It might take a little bit of time to get results, and it might not work ever. So you got to go back to what works. And on top of that, like I said, just have faith in the process and yourself, and just believe and discern that this is what you're doing is the right thing.
And don't be afraid to ask your coach questions.
Yep, you can't be.
Definitely, don't be afraid at all.
If you are, you're probably not in the right place.
There you go.
All right. I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, fellas.
Thanks for
See you
having
next
us.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.